If you like being depressed, enjoy having no drive in your life to improve, want to be lazy, love being an underachiever, then this show is not for you. Get off your loser attitude and stay tuned to the Danny Johnson Show.
You're a winner.
You were born to be a winner.
We help you dig deep. We motivate. We inspire.
The Danny Johnson Show.
Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We're so glad that today you chose to be with us. And today we're going to have, I don't know, maybe you might call it intriguing. It might make you think about things that you've never really thought about before. Or it might be something you really got some great questions concerning kids. Kids and becoming entrepreneurs. I don't know if you've noticed, but we have seen quite the rise, of course, in the information age. These kids with their technical abilities is astounding, especially compared to us, what they would call old farts. But anyway, they are literally starting businesses out of nowhere, and some of them going on to building corporations literally as teenagers. Some of those corporations, multi-millions of dollars. In my opinion, many of them are doing so much better than the adults who are making the choice to choose welfare instead of starting a business, or to choose to stay on unemployment instead of finding a way to provide for themselves as well as the family members that they might be responsible for. So we're going to explore the simplicity of being an entrepreneur and how maybe some parents are encouraging their kids to become entrepreneurs. You might have questions about this. How do I set goals with my kids? Maybe you're already doing that. And if you are, we'd love for you to share with us your secrets to your success concerning them. Because here's the bottom line. Whether you realize it or not, the individuals that are in our homes, in our schools, in our churches, and in our communities are the future. They are the future. The future, perhaps, president or prime minister of a country. The future of businesses, leaders, presidents, inventors, sports people, meaning professional athletes, celebrities, singers, songwriters, actors, actresses, directors of movies, writers. Maybe there could be in your home a future world-renowned author that helps to shape society, as we have had, maybe not so much in our generation, but many generations before us, where they were mind shapers due to the books that were being written and read by children. And so that's who is in your home right now, is the future. It's not a brat. It is not a pain in your backside. It is the future. At the very least, they perhaps will be future parents, right? Moms and dads, future pastors, evangelists, some types of ministers, or even somebody that might start a charity, a nonprofit that is actually helping kids get out of the sex trade or taking care of orphans in this country as well as in other countries. And so today we want to explore, wow, what kind of vision are we putting inside of the next generation? There's a lot of different opinions concerning this. Is vision important for the next generation? Is it important to groom up the next generation of entrepreneurs? And what if we don't groom up the next generation of entrepreneurs? You see, for some, they think being an entrepreneur must be an impossible feat, but it really isn't. Does it require some skill sets? Well, I certainly didn't have any when I became an entrepreneur at the first time at 19 years old, when I started my very first business. And was I groomed to become an entrepreneur? No way. My parents were welfare recipients and they were drug addicts. There was violence and crazy abuse in the house that I grew up in, emotionally, mentally, physically, sexual abuse, verbal abuse. So I was not like the perfect cookie cutter, came from a business family, and then I was taught by my parents how to start a business. Not at all. I was taught by somebody else who had started a business, somebody else that then told a whole room of people about how he started in the particular business he started in, how he became successful, what the costs were. It started to get me thinking about becoming a business owner. You know, I like the sales pitch of make your own hours. Yeah, that's kind of funny. Make your own hours, work for yourself, make as much or as little as you want to. Those things were intriguing, especially to a 19-year-old who wanted to, well, have some freedom in my life and be able to have more control over my life due to the very insecure childhood that I had. So for whatever the reason is that causes an entrepreneur to become one, for me, it was simply that there was an opportunity and it seemed like I could have more control over my future. At least on the outside looking in, that's what it looked like. Well, I failed in that very first business. My first 6 months, I failed miserably. And then I heard about a training seminar where I would learn the actual skills that are necessary to actually run a successful business. And I spent a lot of money. And I mean a ton of money. To me, $25,000 all on my credit cards, traveling every 3 to 4 weeks to a different city, learning from the same millionaire that was teaching at these particular seminars. And mind you, that next 6 months, I had a tremendous amount of success. I made $50,000 in a 6-month period, which in today's money is a couple $100,000. So I felt pretty good about myself at that point. But again, I was young. I lacked maturity. I obviously lacked wisdom. I lacked experience. I only had this much skill set when I needed this much skill set, and I ended up making a stupid choice, meeting and marrying a guy who I knew for what? 7 days. My business was embezzled. I ended up with $2.03 to my name and a $35,000 debt. Homeless, friend, think about that. When you're completely homeless, you don't have too many options. Wasn't able to find a job that first week that I became homeless. And when I did get hired, I had to wait another week for training to happen. So now it's around the middle of the month of December. I had not any income for 2 weeks. I'd bounced checks all over the place. People were hunting me down, trying even to find my new home, which was my car, because it needed to be repossessed. I was not making payments on my little Hyundai XL GL little 4-door roller skate that I was driving that now became my home and my closet and my storage unit all at the same time. So when you're desperate, that was my second business that I started out of complete desperation. And again, I was young, right? First time I was 19, second time I was 21. Now, for a teenager, that seems like you're old, but really, I was very, very young with not much experience starting a new business. But I got to tell you something. The investment that I made for that second 6 months into those training seminars, I learned enough about business and the simplicity of really, it's marketing something to someone. That's it. It's finding a product that is either already being marketed or is under-marketed and market it to someone. And so when you look at the simplicity of entrepreneurship, it's marketing something to someone. Okay, now, yes, there's all kinds of other things that you can do alongside that, but at the very basics, that's pretty much how business works. It's a product or a service, an idea, or people marketing the product, service, idea, or people to somebody else that is willing to buy it. Now, there's a lot of skill sets that are needed in between all of that. However, that really is the simple basics of it. You know, I've heard of kids starting businesses of picking up dog poop. That is marketing something to someone. It's finding a problem that you can actually solve. Well, I know of a young 9-year-old that actually made hundreds and hundreds of dollars in just a few months, enough to save money for a trip that he wanted to go on, that his mom had said, if you want to go, you got to pay your own way. And this little boy wrote out a little script. He figured people don't like picking up their dog poop. I'd have to agree with that. Who likes picking up their dog poop? Not many people like it, enjoy it. People put up with it, but they don't necessarily like it and enjoy it. So he found a need, and he created a service, and he wrote himself a little script, and he went door to door with his mother standing in the driveway, door to door, reading out this little script, and got enough clients to make hundreds and hundreds of dollars to pay for a plane ticket, as well as a fee to get into a business training seminar, which is where he learned even more skills on how to grow that business even further. So is it possible for anyone to become an entrepreneur? Absolutely, it's possible. Is it beneficial for someone to become an entrepreneur? Absolutely, it is. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 19 years old. That's 25 years. Don't do the math, okay? Almost 26 years. I'm coming up on 26 years here very shortly. Anyway, so that's what we're talking about. What are your plans with grooming up your children to become entrepreneurs? What questions do you have as far as how do I do that? Do you believe that everyone can become entrepreneurs? No or yes? My phone number is 844-200-3264. Again, that's 844-200-3264. 844-200-3264. That's 844-200-DANI for Dani, for the Dani Johnson Show. So think about this. When you think about what your very first job was and how much money you were making, I'm not talking about out of high school or college. I'm talking about, babysitting, like this little boy picking up dog poop or mowing lawns. You initiated some kind of effort into the marketplace, exchanging some kind of a service for dollars. Now, if you're doing it for yourself, that actually is the basis and the foundation for actually starting a small business and your first cutting your teeth on becoming an entrepreneur. And I think most of us have done something like that. Knocking on doors, selling C's candy even. That's taking a product that is getting marketed to a someone. It's very simple, okay? Yes, there's more to it. We're not talking about business licenses and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about getting the kids' brains wrapped around being functional in the marketplace, grooming our children's minds for success instead of allowing our society to groom them for failure or mediocrity or being average or, worse yet, being someone that's dependent on the government to be able to supply them and their children for their needs. Rather than you grooming your kids to be a someone in society that is waiting for things to happen, that you can groom your children to be one that thinks this way. I'm going to make things happen. So again, the phone number is 844-200-3264. If you've got a child that has started their own business, we'd love to hear from you about that as well, because I think it's important that all of us parents, as well as teachers and grandparents and aunties and uncles, that we begin to spur on the entrepreneurial spirit that truly is inside of every single one of us. I really believe it is, and here's the proof. The oldest living professions are what? Business owners. Yes. We cannot allow, and again, I'm not against big business per se from well, forget it. I'm not getting into a political conversation. But my point is, yes, there's big business and there's small business. I've always been a part of the small business category. Has it been beneficial to my family? Yes. Has it been beneficial and provided jobs to many other families, countless families? So it means that we can start planting seed inside of the next generation that rather than thinking when I grow up, I don't want to work at McDonald's. No, it's how many McDonald's franchises do you want to own? It's as simple as a quick little switch in the brain. Rather than them thinking I'm going to work for somebody else, we can get their brain wrapped around I will own businesses and I will provide jobs for the somebody else's that are out there. Think about it. What will happen if the entrepreneurial spirit dies? What will happen? Where will the jobs come from? Listen, all you have to do is look throughout history and see that that is a train wreck. Societies collapse when things like that happen. So we must foster entrepreneurial spirit in some of the kids on this earth today. This is Dani Johnson. I'm going to take your call right after this.
Coming up, a little work never hurt anyone, especially your children. On The Dani Johnson Show.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
Giving you the playbook to design your life. This is The Dani Johnson Show. And now, here's Dani.
Do you have kids that are lazy? Are your kids completely unmotivated? Sitting on the couch playing video games saying, bring me my sandwich and can I have my glass of milk? And after they're done with it all, they leave it right there on the kitchen table, waiting for somebody else to pick it up? Unfortunately, that is the fruit of the current generation of so-called mothers and fathers that somehow don't realize that is training their kids for future failure. Today, we're talking about teaching kids responsibility, teaching them how to make their own money, how to set a goal and actually achieve that goal, not dependent on their family for their needs, or their goals, meaning they have something they want to buy. It's not, Mommy, I want that and pay for it for me. Because when you fast forward, my friend, what does that turn into? Them saying, Mommy, at 25, I want that, buy it for me. At 35, you still paying your kid's cell phone bill. And yes, you know people who are paying for their kid's cell phone bill and their kid is 45 years old. It's ridiculous. It is nonsense. And it is up to us to groom up responsibility in our children, to teach them how to make their own money and then what to do with that money, to teach them how to start businesses, set goals. It's important for us to train them up to reign in our society, because if we don't, you're only going to get what you see all the rest of the kids that are out there doing, using mom and dad as an ATM machine, expecting things to happen when they're not willing to work for it. You know what? As a business consultant, I encounter conversations with business owners all the time, and they say the craziest thing they have seen that has changed the most in the last 2 decades is this new generation that has risen up who is coming fresh out of college and expecting to have a management role. They have zero experience. They don't want to start at the bottom. Scrubbing toilets is not an option for them. They feel entitled to high-paying jobs without figuring out how to bring the value in that place. So it's important for you and I, whether we're aunts, uncles, whether we are parents, teachers, social workers, whether we are spiritual parents, it's up to us to do what we can to plant seed inside of this next generation about being responsible, starting their own business, and knowing what to do with the money. I've got line 6, Michelle from South Carolina. Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show, Michelle. Hello, Michelle, are you there? Hello? We have no Michelle. Okay, awesome. Let me see if I can get line 5 for Lily. Hello, Lily, are you there? Nope, I'm hearing nothing. Okay, we need to double check some technical stuff right now. And we'll get those lines opened and cleared. Okay, so while we're getting the phone lines working, because for some reason there's no sound in my ears of what anybody is actually saying. Anyway, so let's get back on this with the kids. Here's what's important. Yeah, my parents didn't groom me for business. They didn't groom me for financial success, being welfare recipients, right? They did the best that they could based on what was passed down to them. And therefore, I don't even know if they ever thought about, like, wow, how are we going to teach our daughters how to succeed? Or how are we going to teach our daughters about money? How are we going to teach our daughters about jobs or working for people? I don't know that my parents ever thought of that, but I think it's important for you to enter in this discussion, and I think it's important for you and I to discuss, how do we go about doing that? What's the proper path? Does it mean that all kids should be entrepreneurs? They all should have a business? Not necessarily. Is it possible that they can? No question. It doesn't. I've seen all personalities start businesses. I've seen all types, whether it's the quiet, shy type or that big, bold and aggressive type. I've seen the more quiet type. I've seen them all go into business and succeed in business. So it's never based on personality, ever. It really isn't. I've seen the ones that are least likely to succeed in business build billion-dollar corporations, and I've seen those that look on the outside most likely to succeed in business flop and drop and flip out and, not succeed in business. So it has nothing to do with personality. However, the skill set that we can be teaching our kids, whether it is with a paper route or whether it is babysitting or picking up poop or mowing lawns, and that's what they get to do to generate their own money, what do you have? What are you teaching them? Responsibility. You're teaching them a way to figure out how they can solve a problem. There's something I want to make money. How do I go make money? You're teaching them that money doesn't just fall out of the sky. Don't you wish you were taught that one? Yeah, I bet. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
Good people bring out the good in people. And you're sharing great moments with thousands of good people right now. There's more of the Dani Johnson Show coming up. Stay here.
But I'm so blessed that I found what is in Grooming the Next Generation for Success. This is a book that is being taught in universities around the world. It's been noted as the best book on parenting that has ever been written. Crazy, if you ask me. But the point is that this thing gets results. Get your copy today, 888-757-8880. Again, that's 888-757-8880. Or go to DaniJohnson.com. That's DANI Johnson.com. Get your copy today.
Hello.
Improving the quality of your life. The Dani Johnson Show.
I love it.
Movers and shakers, history makers, where do they come from? They come right out of your home. They do, my friend. The future is in our homes. Future inventors, presidents or prime ministers of nations. We have future singers, songwriters. That's who in our home. They're in our homes, they're in our schools, communities, and churches right this very minute. The future workforce of the nation in which you are living in right now is living in our homes, living in our schools. Yes, they're at the grocery store with their parents right now. So here, you need to hear me right now. Who is training them up, and for what are they being trained for? Are you training up kids to be future financial failures? Training up kids to be those mediocre employees that say, I hate Mondays and I can't wait till Friday? Are you grooming up your children for success or failure? Today we're talking about on the Dani Johnson Show about grooming up entrepreneurs, raising up kids to think like entrepreneurs, to start businesses, to learn those kind of responsibilities, also to understand money, where to put it, how to invest their time. Different skill sets they really are going to have both succeeding in the marketplace as well as succeeding where? In their homes, with their spouses, with their future children. So we're talking about goals and kids. What are your kids doing? What are you doing to groom up your kids in that way for being an entrepreneur? If you have questions concerning that, 844-200-DANI is my name. And that's the phone number, 844-200-3264. You want to enter in on this discussion, or if you are doing something with your kids concerning business and teaching them business, call us now. Tell us about it. What kind of business has your kid started? 844-200-3264 is that phone number. All right, we got Michelle from South Carolina. Michelle, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
My kids want to start business, and they talk about it all the time. And I would just really love to have your input on what are some great businesses for kids. They range from ages 13 to 9.
Oh, wow. Those are great ages for a kid to get some business experience by far. So what kind of businesses have they come to you saying they want to start?
Well, we live on a lake, and we one summer we made homemade ice cream, and we sold it by a store close to the lake. And now my son has decided that he's going to save his money for a jet ski, and he's going to build a raft, and he is going to take the homemade ice cream, and he's going to go around to people that are out on the lake, sell ice cream to them.
That is awesome. If that kid came to me, I would be buying ice cream for sure. I love that idea. That's an ice cream delivery service. That's brilliant. On a lake. Who does not want ice cream when they're sweating their guts out on a lake, right, Michelle? Huh.
I know.
That's a brilliant idea. I'm serious. That's a brilliant idea. And then, of course, he gets to, have fun on the jet ski when he's not selling ice cream. That's brilliant also. That's wise.
That's right, because, the jet ski is we teach them about investing your money in something that's going to make you money. Mm-hmm. So that was his way of being able to buy the jet ski. They've also talked about raising dogs, buying dogs and raising dogs.
Yep.
Trying to think of what else.
Let me tell you about two little girls. Let me tell you about two little girls that were 5 and 7 that started a business with obviously some help front money with their parents, buying the first set of cats that they then bred, and they raised Persian kittens and sold them. They were 5 and 7 years old. They breeded their cats. They sold $500 kittens. Hello? They sold a 5 and a 7-year-old sold $500 kittens. So trust me, your son, with this mind that he has, he's brilliant. And listen, until he gets his money for the jet ski, because again, mom and dad also need to do some cost analysis and see, wait a second, how much does it cost to run the jet ski? What's the cost of the jet ski? How much ice cream has to be sold before the jet ski is actually paid for? Plus, what's the maintenance and the gas on the jet ski? To make sure that this all makes financial sense. Do you know what I'm saying? How much ice cream is he going to have to sell in a summer or every day up to every week in order to pay for that thing? But here's what I would tell your little boy to do to start with. Does he have a bicycle?
Yes.
Then it'd be door knocking, honey. He should be door knocking. He is the bicycle ice cream man coming to the door with his beautiful ice cream display saying, hey, it's a hot day. Everybody wants ice cream on a hot day. And there they are. Come on now. That's where he can start with what he already has in front of him. So it's the money to buy the ice cream. Mama's got the cooler. Ride the bike down the road. Start knocking on doors and start bringing ice cream. He could even get it to where he could ask, would you like to see me again tomorrow or the next day or the following day? Would you like to get on an auto ship of ice cream? What kind of ice cream do you prefer? I'd like to bring it directly to you, where he can bring this customized daily or twice a week or 3 times a week ice cream straight to that house. You know how that goes. I don't know if you grew up on a street where the ice cream man came. But it's really hard.
I was in the country.
Yeah, ice cream trucks are great, and I think an ice cream bike is a great idea for a young person to start a business, no question. Good job, Mom and Dad, that you have encouraged your kids to actually think like that, and that you're talking to them about making investments and getting their minds spinning on things they can do. Again, it's always find a need and fill the need, and I believe the idea of the jet ski with the ice cream is a great idea. Now you got to do some cost analysis, see if it makes sense. But at the very least, take that bicycle, that same cooler, drag that sucker home by home by home and start selling some ice cream. Tell your boy I'm really, really proud of him. And by the way, they're going to make mistakes. They might not make money, but they're getting the experience and getting over the fear of talking to people. They're getting over the fear of making mistakes, that they're actually initiating themselves and getting out there and trying to make money, which is important. Who knows? He might have an idea that absolutely works as long as he persists with it. Thanks so much for the input, Michelle. I appreciate you. I love that idea. I want an ice cream cone when I'm on a lake. Do you? This is Dani Johnson. We're taking your call, talking about goals and kids and raising up future entrepreneurs. Lily is on line 5 from Florida. Lily, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, Dani. Yeah, I absolutely do believe anyone can start a business, and I have been encouraging my children to start something. I really believe that even while they're going to school, my older 2 are in college, that they should be doing something.
Yes.
And so I've asked them a lot of questions about this, and they usually come back to me with they want to do something in their area of interest. And my question to you is, does it necessarily have to start there?
No.
I'm more...
No, Lily. Right? No, and let me tell you why. This is like that actually right there really gets under my skin all the time when I hear it. It really gets under my skin, and it's because we live in this society that has these 2 major flaws. One, custom-made everything to me. Right? I want my Big Mac the way I want it. So everything's about me and building what I want and doing what I want. That's the wrong way to build business. No, it's about finding what other people want and give it to them. It's finding a need that someone else has. Business isn't about filling your need. Business and successful business is built on filling other people's needs. So that's number 1. The second part that we have in our society that is totally not grooming our kids to be entrepreneurs is waiting until we find our purpose and waiting until we find something that stimulates us. That's a bunch of nonsense, and our society has done this. Everything is about self-stimulation and self-service. Well, we have to flip that around and use it for our benefit instead of our detriment. So if we know that majority of society wants to be served, if we know that majority of the society is looking for that custom service that give me what I want and I want it now, well, then we can build a business giving people what they want and giving it to them as fast as we possibly can get it to them. So when I hear that question of, I want to do something that really, fits my needs or fits my interests. Well, if that was my mindset when I was a homeless woman at 19, I'd still be homeless. I started in a business that I didn't like and that I had no credibility in. I started in a business that I had no interest in at all. It was straight up desperation, need to make money yesterday. That's what it was about. That business made me $250,000 my first year and $1 million by the end of my second year. So you take that answer to your kids right away. And by the way, Mom, if you're paying for all of their college and you're paying for everything of their life, they don't have a need to make their own money. They don't have a need to start a business. So you got to be straight. If you're saying go start a business, yet you're still paying for everything, hello, girlfriend. They don't have a need to start anything if you're taking care of them like that. This is Dani Johnson. We're talking about the next generation and grooming up entrepreneurs, raising them up, training them up. And where do they get started? They start small. They start right where they're at. And they start with what they've already got. That's how you start in business. Yeah. You want to argue with me about that? 844-200-3264. Again, that's 844-200-3264. What happens if parents stop planning the idea of going into business for yourself into the next generation? What kind of a nation will we be? What world will we be when that happens? We'll continue with more right after this.
Don't just stand there. Soak this up. It's joy, it's encouragement, it's insight to a better life and how to meet your obligations and overcome obstacles.
The Dani Johnson Show.
This is The Dani Johnson Show.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
Helping you get a grip on your priorities and your focus.
The Dani Johnson Show. Here's Dani Johnson.
Should kids be taught how to become entrepreneurs? And if so, when? When should we parents or grandparents, aunties and uncles, spiritual parents, friends, when should we start planting those seeds? 844-200-3264. Join the discussion. Whether you want to call in live and share your 2 cents, or you'd like to share that on Facebook. Our Facebook page is Dani Johnson Live. That's D-A-N-I Johnson Live. Line 4, we have Shauna from Millersburg, Pennsylvania. Shauna, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hey, my son wants to start his own business. He wants to be like his mama when he grows up. He's thinking, further in the future. So we're trying to help him with right now. But in the future, he wants to help people by digging wells in other countries, and he wants to be a father figure to children that don't have fathers. And he said that's what he wants to do. But obviously, we need to come up with a way to help him do it on a smaller scale here while he's 6 years old. And so,
that's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. I love that your son has a vision, because so many kids, even at 6 years old, don't have vision. And if they do have vision, it usually has to do with what they want to buy, not who they can help. It wants to do with where they want to live, not who they can help to supply food and water or shelter for. So, Mommy, you've done a really good job planting vision inside of your son, recognizing the kind of heart that he has. And I think it's wise that you're fanning that flame and that desire that he has. And so how do you start now? See, that's the thing that parents need to understand. That's not only parents need to understand, just people in general, because people always have questions about, how do I start a business? You start with what you have, and you start now. You start right where you're at with what you've already got. You don't go and look for something else. You got something right in front of you that you can actually prosper from and prosper with. And so with your son, right, he wants to dig wells, and he wants to provide water in foreign countries, and he wants to set a good example for other kids. So you tell me, Shanna, how can you use that heart and that desire and put that to work right now? If he has to start with where he's at, and he has to use what he already has to be able to practice his goal of in the future. Does he physically want to dig the wells himself? Or does he want to fund the wells?
He wants to own the company and go over there and dig the wells. And he said that he's going to find his wife in the United States, but he's going to take her back over there with him, and they're going to be parents to those kids.
I love it. All is 6 years old. I love it. I love it. Vision. I love it. Okay, so if he wants to run a company, then okay, this is how I did it with my kids. So if that's his mindset, then what you can do is you can motivate him with, okay, well, running a company usually means you have a business building. And so we're going to practice taking care of your business building. We're going to start with your room. We're going to treat your bedroom and all of your toys and all of your books and all of your clothes as though you are managing this business territory. So let's put into practice keeping this room how you would see fit to run your business in the future. So it's about being responsible for your own items, putting things back where they belong, having systems in place that other people can actually follow. Because without systems and procedures, nobody can duplicate it. And so you want to speak that in terms of a 6-year-old, that being trusted with the bedroom and that being his business, and or helping out with emptying the dishwasher. That it's one responsibility at a time and getting really good at that chore, getting good at that task. So then he will turn around and teach someone else how to do that skill. And that then puts him in a management role, a leadership role, to where he knows how to do something that other people don't know how to do. And so we can practice right now with simple things in the house. Could be with laundry, right? Whites over here, mixed over here, darks over here. Do you understand? Like picking tasks that he can have responsibility over, that he can grow in that skill set to eventually then you can practice him managing mommy. Okay, why don't you show mommy how to empty the dishwasher now? Now you're going to teach me. So now what you get is you get a helping hand with the house chores. You're teaching him the value of work, the attitude of work, the right attitude concerning work. And he's getting the opportunity to lead, whether it's one of his siblings or if he's the only one. Then he could say, okay, Mommy, I'm going to show you now today how a room is supposed to be clean. And he's going to get to express it. He's going to be able to lead in it. And you tell him what a great job that he did. But when someone takes ownership, they always do a much better job of it. And you can actually use that in grooming him all the way up through his teens until he becomes one that will run a business. And again, he can start other businesses on the side, raising money for these orphaned kids that he loves already, that he has not met. That's another place where he can prosper right where he's planted by starting a little side business that he can, I don't know, like I said earlier, pick up poop for a living. People do that. They get paid to do that. He can offer that service. Taking out the trash for a sweet old lady down the street. He can learn to do that. He can do that well, sweeping her floor. You'd be amazed what people would hire a 6-year-old to do. And that's one way that he can start building capital so that he can provide for all of these orphans that he and his wife one day will be parents of. Great idea, Mommy. Good job planting vision in your son, but those are a couple of little ideas that you can do that will start to teach him and prepare him for what his future is. Okay, that's awesome. Thanks for calling in. Thanks so much for being a listener on the Dani Johnson Show. Okay, if you got any more comments or questions concerning this topic, 844-200-3264. Or if you know, man, you're doing something right with your kid concerning grooming him up or her up for being an entrepreneur, call us and share, 844-200-3264. If you are that kid and you're grooming yourself for it, call me. I want to know about it, 844-200-3264. I really believe the skill sets that you can help your kid learn by teaching them how to think like a business person and how to find opportunity, how to profit from opportunity, and then how to give from those profits. Gosh, could you imagine what an amazing world this would be? Seriously, think about that. It'd be pretty amazing. All right, I've got Connie on line 3 from Grapevine, Texas. Connie, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, Dani. Hey, I just wanted to say I teach my kiddos to do vision boards. Every year we do a vision board. We set up goals, what we want to do. I wasn't raised like that, and so to have my kids be able to create those vision boards have been a huge impact on their lives.
That's awesome. Now, the question I have for you is what action items are they taking towards that vision? What are they putting into practice now to achieve the vision that they're putting on the board? How many things do they get to check off of that vision board each year or each month or every 6 months or once a quarter? Are you taking action items?
Right. Well, I have several different age groups, but I don't know. They get to mark off different items, such as, I want to turn in all my homework, for my youngest kid. And so when she does that week, she gets to check it off, and we break it down like that.
Good job.
But I do have a kiddo that has come through depression, self-harm, suicide, and has done a 180.
Wow. Hold on one second here. Hold on one second here, girl. Hold the line. We got to cut to a break. I got to hear more about what you just said. This is Dani Johnson.
Learning to use your gifts and resources as a child and thriving on The Dani Johnson Show next.
Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. The most common question I get usually are from people who are trying to juggle their life. They've got kids who are involved in all kinds of activities. They've got business or their job, finances, trying to get out of debt, plus all their church activities and all the volunteer activities, and they're pulling their hair out going, how do I juggle this all? Man, I once lived just like that until I learned Time Secrets. Time Secrets showed me how to be able to cut my hours from 100 hours a week that I was working down to 20 hours a week and tripled my income as a direct result with what I learned. Time Secrets also showed me how to get my priorities in order, which healed up my marriage. And I became a mother that I was proud of versus becoming the mother I didn't want to be. And so if you feel like your world is running around in all kinds of different circles, you can fix that. Call 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880 for Time Secrets.
If you like being depressed, enjoy having no drive in your life to improve, want to be lazy, love being an underachiever, then this show is not for you. Get off your loser attitude and stay tuned to The Dani Johnson Show. The Dani Johnson Show. Dani Johnson Show.
You will eat the fruit of your labor, and a man without a vision will perish. You've heard those words before. They're not mine. They came from the best success book ever written, the best financial book, the best relationship book, the best business book, the best conflict resolution book, the best book that has ever graced the planet for family, for finance, for business and career is the Bible. Life and death is in the power of our tongue. That's what that book said. A man without a vision will perish, and as a man thinks in his heart, so is he, and we will eat the fruit of our labor. The unfortunate thing is much of what I just said to you is not being trained in the next generation. And we've got a generation of kids who lack vision. Yes, which means that if you lack vision, a kid lacks vision, they will perish. Joining me right now, Connie, who came in the last segment of the first hour of the Dani Johnson Show, was talking to us about her kids having vision boards and how that's really made an impact. And she just began to tell us that she had a son that was cutting himself, hurting himself. And now we go back to Connie. Connie, how old was your son when you found out that he was cutting himself?
Well, Dani, it was actually my daughter.
Wow.
And she was probably about 15, 16 when she started cutting herself.
Wow. What drove her there? Like, what caused that? What provoked her to try to spill her own blood?
Well, we had a very dysfunctional home life. I had made some bad decisions, and she had seen and been a part of some things that she should not have been with her stepdad. She had actually been through some trauma herself. She had been through some rape situations, and she was done. She was done. We actually went through a residential treatment. She asked me to take her to the hospital after trying to commit suicide a couple of times. And, during that whole time, I was creating a vision board. I had a business. I had just paid off like $18,000 worth of debt using your program and being acknowledged for that on your Facebook page. And when she saw that and she saw my vision board, then that kind of turned her around, and now every one of my children create those vision boards. And my particular daughter right now has done a 180. She is listening to you. She's listening to Les Brown. She's listening to everybody every single day, and she is just feeding her mind with the good stuff. And on her vision board, all she wants to do is write a book and be a motivational speaker for young kids. So sorry, I get emotional, but
you should. I am too.
That's what she wants to do, and that's what she wants to do. And so that's where we're stuck as far as her being an entrepreneur, because she has chosen not to go to school, go to college, because she doesn't want to have the debt.
Yeah, and I understand. Unfortunately, in most cases, college right now is not a good return on investment. It's just not. The numbers don't scratch out. The results are just not there. And until those numbers change, I recommend most of the time that you don't go to college. There's no results. So that's a bad investment. I rather a kid buy a house. At least they have a mortgage, right? And not a debt the size of a mortgage and no house. At least they have a house for the mortgage instead of 4 years of drinking and partying and having sex with who knows who and how many. So, okay, so your daughter wants to be a motivational speaker. That's actually an entrepreneur. That will be her own business. That will be her own business. She will be self-employed, and she will probably end up having a staff that will help her to be able to be that motivational speaker. And so here's where she's got to. So first of all, I cannot keep going without saying this, Connie. You are a humble woman. And I'm so proud of you for being completely in touch, but not ashamed, in touch with the failures of your past, but not carrying the guilt or the shame that often a past can give people like you and me, because I went down similar roads that you went down. So I'm proud of you that you are celebrating your accomplishments, that you see the error and you've made the choice to change. And you've done it so much so that you're now grooming up your kids to not make the same mistakes that you've made, but to have a different life. And I wish you were face to face with me right now. I would kiss both of your cheeks and your forehead. I would hug your neck so hard you might turn blue. Seriously, wow. You know, there's so many people out there that went down roads that you and I did, and they're still there. They're still there, Connie, and you're not. You're not. And you're not just giving in and giving up. But you're also now reaching into the next generation, and you're grooming your kids for success, and that is ever so more powerful. So here's what your daughter, okay? And by the way, you tell her I'm proud of her. You tell her that she has now a story. She has a story that is going to unfortunately relate to a huge populace of kids that are out there that are cutting themselves in secret, that have not yet come forward to ask for help. And so writing a book, great idea. Simple way it can be done. She can literally write herself an outline per chapter and speak it into a microphone, transcribe it, bam, bada boom, you're done. That's how my first book ever got written. Now we've got 2 more that are on their way. I've got 3 best-selling books already. And seriously, it is speaking from the heart. What I had to change, what my failures were, and how I went about doing it. And that has led countless hundreds of thousands of people to the same kind of redemptive way of living instead of still being stuck in that horrible, horrible place. So she should write a book, because there is millions of kids who are suffering from depression. There are hundreds of thousands of kids who are cutting themselves right now. So where she can start before she actually writes the book is she can start with a blog. The blog then turns into pages of a book. She begins to drive traffic to that blog, begin to make posts on Facebook, begin to share the inner emotions that she was having and how she turned it around. She can begin to do videos, just her and a small phone, a video that's on a phone. Post those suckers on YouTube. Again, that then turns into content that eventually turns into a book. Also, starting motivational-wise, speaking to other kids. She can begin starting with small groups in her own neighborhood. She can begin looking for opportunities to speak in churches. She can begin looking for opportunities to speak at schools. Just looking, she's got to start knocking on them doors and start presenting herself. And you tell her this, she must never turn into a polished speaker. She must be authentic. She must be herself. She must be herself. She must be herself. She must be herself. Do not try to speak with somebody else's voice. Do not try to speak with somebody else's cadence. Just be yourself. The days of those polished speakers are gone. Those days of those, make sure and do this with that eye contact. Yes, that kind of stuff is important. However, if you love the people you are talking to, even though they're strangers, if you love them, that is what's going to impact them versus the right cadence and the right pause and the right eye contact and all of that nonsense. People are looking for real people. They're sick and tired of these bamboozled politicians as well as so many preachers that are out there that care more about sounding good and sounding pretty and having all that polished nonsense that puts everyone to sleep. Authenticity is what her generation is looking for. They don't trust the politicians. They don't trust those polished speakers. They're looking for passion. They're looking for truth. They're looking for what is real. And that is what that girl is made of. There you go. All right. Thank you, Connie. Thank you so much for calling in today. I appreciate you. Wow. Okay, moving on. Line 2, Kristen from Boston, Massachusetts. Kristen, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Thank you. I have a home-based business, and I'm a former teacher of entrepreneurship for inner-city high school kids. And so I absolutely love teaching lessons and putting that type of entrepreneurship, the love of it, in the kids that I teach and in my own children. I have 3. Awesome. My daughter, she's 9 years old. She's very talented at competitive cheer. And when you get to a certain level, you start to travel, and it starts getting very, very expensive.
Yes.
We've made the decision to keep me home and leave education, so budget is quite different this year. And I have to have this really hard conversation with her that we might not be able to do what she wants to do. So we decided we'd look within her, in her life, what she feels there's something missing. And we started a business together. And so we had our launch event, and she made $200 selling natural makeup. That's for performance. Nice. And she's loving it. It's awesome. It's really amazing.
That's awesome. You know what? What you did was wise, because where is competitive cheerleading going to take your daughter? Can you please tell me where the road ends?
It's starting to open up. I mean, it never has been before.
Hold on. I don't think that you understand where I'm talking about. Can you just kind of give me a general consensus of who the women turn into and what that path?
They're pretty powerful. Yeah, they're very confident. They're poised. They're athletes. They're really they have a lot of ambition, and they're driven.
Okay.
These girls that are doing this with her.
And incredibly vain.
Yeah, some.
Most. It's all about their body. It's all about their body. It's all about looks. It's not about character. In most cases. So, what you've done for your daughter, teaching her to start a business that has nothing to do with her body, is wise. That has nothing to do with the pressures of our society is wise. Having a more natural approach, right? What you said, she was selling natural makeup. That's awesome. It's about the environment. It's about taking better care of your skin. It's about not so much image of, if I don't have this 36, 24, 32, then I'm not going to qualify for something that I want to do. So honestly, what you're teaching your daughter with her starting a business is so much more powerful than her being in competitive cheer and mom and dad funding competitive cheer for her. By far, what she will learn with that business and holding those classes or those parties or whatever which way she's selling it is far more preparing her for a greater life and being a contributor in society than competitive cheer. So, good job, Mommy. I'm proud of you. That's awesome. This is Dani Johnson. We're talking about grooming the next generation for success, specifically about grooming them for business. We'll continue after this.
Coming up on the Dani Johnson Show, believe in your child, and they will believe in themselves.
I just heard this amazing story. One of our clients had written us telling us that they had used job domination and unlimited success and has absolutely exploded their career. He said, Dani, I don't know where I'd be today without job domination and unlimited success. Listen, do you want more recognition from your coworkers? Do you want to be recommended to people all over the world? Do you want to be somebody that is highly sought after? Listen, if you're in a dead-end place where this gentleman found himself, but then learned new strategies and changed everything in his work life, and obviously this has resulted in higher bonuses and pay raises, you're next. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of Job Domination right now. 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880. Job domination, that's what you need. It's time for you to dominate the job market and break through the rut that you're in.
Helping you get a grip on your priorities and your focus.
The Dani Johnson Show. Here's Dani Johnson.
Should we have our kids in sports or vain competitions? Or should we be teaching them how to be business owners? Quite honestly, that's a good argument, I think, because I actually was a competitive athlete, and I can tell you honestly that competitive, not so much the competitive part, that jacked me up quite a bit actually, and just messed my mind up with jealousy and feeling like I'd never measure up in the business world until, probably a decade after I was already a successful business person. But it taught me things about business that I still use to this day, like teamwork and how everything is a team effort, and that running a family actually is teamwork. It's a team effort. And when one person is slacking in the family, it hurts the overall team and it causes stresses to happen. So same with a business. When the owner doesn't see their business as it's my business, it's my way or the highway, when they see it from the perspective of this is a team effort, and without this team that I work with every day, we don't have a business. And without our clients, the team doesn't exist either. So all the way around the block, teamwork is an important skill set to develop inside of our kids, especially if we're trying to groom them for future financial success in business. So we're talking about different ideas of different businesses that kids are starting and whether or not we feel that they should be starting a business at 6 or 7 or 8 or 5 or 20. Should they be doing that? Is that an important thing to at least guide your children in so that they break certain barriers, like expecting you to pay for everything, where they learn responsibility over certain tasks, because they're going to have to do that eventually. Why not start when they're young? That was my husband and my mindset concerning training them up to learn how to work and to work with the right attitude and to have an entrepreneurial mindset. My phone number is 844-200-3264. Again, that's 844-200-3264. If you'd like to contribute in this conversation, I'd love to hear your comments on to whether or not you think that your kids should learn how to be business people. Or do you feel like, hey, no way, I don't want my kids to work when they're young. I want to give my kids everything that I didn't get. You really need to think about that, Joe Schmo, Sally Sue. You need to think about that mindset. Because giving your kids everything you didn't get, what happens when they turn 18? Do they all of a sudden don't expect everything they've been getting all their life? What happens when they have to make it out there in the real world and you have somehow tickled their fancy with Louis Vuitton purses and $100 tennis shoes? What happens when you've tickled their fancy with eating out 3 or 4 times a week, buying lunch every day? What happens when you've tickled your children's fancy with unlimited entertainment and video games, new clothes on a consistent basis? That whatever their want was, you fulfilled their need for them. You have become their money god. You have become their source of all things. And when does it stop? It doesn't stop when it's 18. They are now entitled. And when they feel entitled, now they get bitter. They get upset that you will not buy them that expensive gift for their birthday anymore. They then feel like you owe them something. Because look, when you've trained up your kids to enjoy all of the finer things in life, do you think that all of a sudden when they turn 18, they won't have a taste for it anymore? the very habit of teaching them to go out to eat 3 and 4 nights a week, how are they going to support themselves on that? How are they ever going to get ahead financially? Hello, friend, look at your own personal finances. How's it working for you? How's it working for you? Most people are broke simply because they eat out too much, simply because they throw away too much food. They're buying too much food. When you train your kids to live the way you're living, you're really setting them up for a really hard first 10 years on their own, which then turns into them still being at home and expecting you to provide for everything. It's dangerous. 844-200-3264. You want to argue with me on that? Call me now. 844-200-3264. You want to argue with everything I just said? You go to the front of the line. 844-200-3264. That's DANI, 3264. Call me. Let's talk about that. Or do you totally agree that kids should be learning entrepreneurial skills while they're still in the house and learning those types of responsibilities, as well as how to manage money? Is that important? I guarantee you, friend, the school is not going to teach your kid how to manage money. Oh, no. No. They don't know how to manage their own money. They're certainly not going to teach your kid to be an entrepreneur. No. They're going to teach your kid how not to be an entrepreneur, how to wait for things to happen. They're not going to entice your child with vision that is important. No, while they're there at school, they're going to be enticed for Planned Parenthood and future abortion, because that is part of their marketing plan when your kid first enters kindergarten. Yeah, they got a plan for that. They're certainly not, they don't have your kid's best interest in mind, but that's your job. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
You want great advice. You want a great business. You want a better life. You should be listening to Dani Johnson.
Every day.
Every day.
All the time.
All the time.
Helping you improve your life. The Dani Johnson Show. Stay with us.
The whole story of how I went from homeless to millions is right here in this book, First Steps to Wealth. I'd love to give you a free copy of this book. Just dial 888-757-8880. You can get your free copy of this book. It's like a real book, my friend. You can get an ebook copy for free right now, or if you'd like to pay the shipping to get this $15 book to your house, I'd be happy to send it to you. 888-757-8880. Get your copy of First Steps to Wealth today and begin on a brand new path of some great success.
Now, more of the Dani Johnson Show.
Whose job is it to train your children to succeed? Yours? Mine? Teachers? Disney. It's Disney's job. Wait a minute. No, Dani. I bring my kids to youth group every week, and I take them to Sunday school. That's where they're going to learn it. Oh, give me a break. Do you know how many kids every year get pregnant in youth group right on that Wednesday night or that Sunday night that they're there? Do you actually think for 5 seconds that your kids somehow are going to escape the temptations that are happening at church every single week? Come on, get out of the clouds, hang up your little religious ideals, and come to the reality. I was one of those kids that went to youth group, and yes, I got pregnant in high school. With who? The deacon's son. And that was a long time. It was 28 years ago, almost exactly. 28 years ago. Let's come to the reality, my friend. It is your job, yours, to train up your children on how to succeed, how to make wise choices. And if they're going to become entrepreneurs, you, my friend, can help them do that and do that well. We're talking about your kids, their future, and what is your plan to help them to succeed. Barbara is on line 5 from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Barbara, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, Dani. You know, I really agree with you that I want my kids to be different. I want them to be set apart. And so I brought my 4 kids to First Steps in San Antonio, and their eyes really were open to a whole new mindset. And so I have 2 questions about my kids. I have a 14-year-old who has an entrepreneurial mindset, and if he buys something or sees something, you know, he thinks, how can he make it better? And he's also talked about owning his own restaurant or business sometime in the future. Nice. And I also have a 16-year-old who has been leading praise and worship at a school for 3 years now.
Wow.
And he's called to really deliver the oppressed through praise and worship. And he wants to bring an awakening this year so the kids in the school have a tangible touch from God. So what specifically could I do for them now at this point in their lives to give them that specific foundation and training to help them get started as young entrepreneurs and really set a course for them to be world changers in their generation.
So awesome. Great questions. Okay, so let's handle the first one, your son. And by the way, first steps to success for the listener who just literally got in their car and started hearing what you were saying. First steps to success is our business, finance, and relationship training seminar. San Antonio was a few weeks back. We had 1,300 people at that particular event. And this mother from Oklahoma took her 4 children to that training seminar, and she said that their eyes were really opened and they learned a lot of great stuff. Okay, so your son, Barbara, who's an entrepreneur, and he thinks about owning his own restaurant someday. So I want you to think, okay, begin to think, what does it take to manage a business to where he could start right now with where he's already at? I love that it's a restaurant that he's thinking about. Barbara, do you cook?
Yes, I cook, and I engage my kids in learning at a young age to cook as well.
Okay. So for someone that's going to own a restaurant, they need to understand all the facets of the restaurant business now, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So where can your son start?
Well,
he can start in the kitchen. He can start in the kitchen and treating that kitchen as though it is his restaurant and all the family members are his patrons. He can begin learning all the different facets of that restaurant business and putting them into practice every day, every other day, once a week in the home. Where maybe it is once a week that you say, how old is your son, by the way?
14.
Perfect. Okay. He needs to know how to cook, and maybe he cooks 1 meal a week for the entire family. And he serves the meal. Maybe he even, because he has to understand about what in the world should he put on the menu. So you literally can walk your son through the restaurant business right there in the home. And then as you guys, he's 14, so even as you guys go to observe different types of restaurants, analyzing the menu, looking at the price point that's on there, what are the ingredients that they're buying, getting an interview with a restaurant owner, how did they get started, have him write reports on what he interviews with the business owner, how did that guy get his start, how did he pick his menu, how did he figure out his price, what kind of suppliers does he have? Start engaging him on understanding a business, the business plan for a restaurant, what kind of restaurants do the best in what kind of economies, right? And he can start then test marketing in your family of 6. Right? Getting a gauge. Okay, what are different fruits and vegetables y'all like? What's your favorite meal? How do you like that prepared? And then he can figure out the price point. He can make the menu itself. And, you know, tonight it's one thing. We have a special, and this is our special. And he presents it to everybody. Let him treat the kitchen as though it is his restaurant at least once a week. And it could take him all week to figure out what he's going to cook, how to get the groceries, how to keep it cheap, right? How to prepare it. Clean it, even hire other people to clean it or recruit other people to help. There's the cleanup crew. This is his staff, right, that he has to motivate to do a good job with dishes. Just think about every single detail that it takes to run a restaurant. And you've got dishwashers, you got waitresses, maybe there's a bar, right? There's menus, there's getting the suppliers, getting the actual food, there's preparing the food. Do you understand?
Yes.
Walk your son through those things. And it doesn't mean you have to eat the whole enchilada, or, you know, overwhelm yourself with it. It could be one part at a time that he puts into practice being able to do that. And then we add another skill. Do you know what I mean? And again, him motivating the other siblings to help, that's exactly what he will have to do with managing employees in a future restaurant. So the same I would advise for your other son that loves to lift oppression off of people. So there's many different models out there of people that have worship bands, and that is their call. So he needs to start looking at what they do, how they market themselves. He needs to be studying, I would say, on a daily basis. Do a study on oppression. What is causing people to be oppressed? What is causing people to sin? And be able to start speaking to that. He needs to start building an audience, one person at a time, recruiting people to these functions that he's doing at the school. Pick a venue where he's going to hold a conference or a concert, and then recruiting a sales force of people who are going to go out and promote it. How does he create the flyer for it? Let him build it one small detail at a time. And the first concert might not be that big. But if he continues and he has the next date already picked for when the next concert is, and he's selling that to the current 25 people that showed up for the first one, or whatever the size is, he's going to continue to promote that to that group and go recruit more people. So that's how you recruit an audience. That's how you have to know how to promote. You have to lead with a message. You got to come up with some materials that he literally can do on his computer himself, print it out, make photocopies, go door to door, and start promoting. All right, awesome. So those are just a few ideas of what they can do. Barbara, I really appreciate you, and I love that you're a mom that cares about grooming your 4 children for success, that you want them to be different, that you do not want them to be like everybody else, that you're planting vision inside of them and you're fostering vision out of them. You're finding out what their bend is and you're leading them in the way of their bend, and that's really, really wise. So many parents just don't do that. They give birth and hope for the best. You're being wise, Mama. You're being really, really wise. Okay, next caller. I've got Paige on line 6. Paige, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, Dani. I just want to say I agree. As a single mom, I'm new to First Steps to Success, and my 6-year-old son has realized that we are starting to save money. Nice. He asked me if he could get a job, but I wasn't quite sure on what a 6-year-old could do to make some money. So while you were in San Antonio, you mentioned a kid who started a business picking up dog poop.
Yep.
I didn't know if my son would go for it, but you know what? I offered it to him anyway. He loved the idea. He wound up using money he had already saved to buy his first scooper. We found an old bucket. He wanted to use that to gather it into. Yes. We put a liner in it. We had him practice on our yard. After that, we called a couple friends who have dogs, and he tried it on their yard. So he got it done. About his 4th house into this poop patrol business, as he named it, the scooper broke. So we went home, got a little savings pail, and headed to the pet store. And he proceeded to pick out and purchase his next scooper. And living in Texas, it's rough, but he's definitely learning the value of $1 and learning how to work.
And he also needs to utilize duct tape. Mommy. Duct tape will work to fix the pooper scooper. Also, I am so proud of you, number one, for you engaging in even the conversation with your sons. You know what parents do? Parents typically will say, oh, my son won't do that. Oh, my daughter ain't going to go for that. And that's not what you did. You instead, and you presented the idea to him, and look at him. He's flourishing and learning responsibility. He's learning how to talk to people. He's learning how to knock on doors. If he can learn to sell at 6, he will never starve. He will always do well. If he can learn business skills at 6, he will always be able to provide for his family. I love it. I love what you're doing. Congratulations, Mommy. I could hug your neck right now. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Hey, have you done a favor for your best friend yet? Then do it now. Share this program with them. The Dani Johnson Show, helping hundreds of thousands of people just like you make life more enjoyable and rewarding. The Dani Johnson Show.
Call now, 888-757-8880. I'm going to send you our report on how to feed your family on $100 a week. Get this hot thing in your hand now, and you can begin to save hundreds of dollars just on your food bill. No clipping coupons, no way. I'm talking about simple little things that still, even my position, I'm still able to feed my family on $100 a week or less. You are going to learn how to do the same thing. 888-757-8880. Call now. Get your copy of this report.
We're back. Here's Dani Johnson.
I believe that we've got a generation of a bunch of greedy, entitled kids that unfortunately are suffering from obesity as well. And parents scratch their heads and say, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's wrong. It's the kids these days. Friend, I hate to tell you the hardcore truth. No, it's parents these days. It's parents that don't realize that they are supposed to train up their children in the way they are supposed to go. You're not supposed to be your kid's friend. And yes, your kids are going to think you're crazy, nuts, and stupid from time to time, and they're even going to have some bitterness and resentment from time to time. But you are to be the parent, not the friend, not the best friend. You are supposed to be their guide and making sure you prepare them for a better future than maybe what your parents prepared you for. Whether or not they follow your advice, that is irrelevant. What matters is that you plant that advice inside of them, that you groom them with things that are inside of this manual called Grooming the Next Generation for Success. Things like financial skills. Come on now. Do you want your kids learning how you learned about money? Get out of first of all, spend all the way through high school all of your allowance on clothes or shoes or music or food. Have no money in your savings account. When you go to college, you come out with a mortgage but no house. Big debt while you drank yourself through college. No financial skills, no business skills, no work ethic skills. School is not going to teach them these things, but you are going to teach your kids these things. And we've been talking about for the last 2 hours about grooming your children for success, predominantly in the area of them becoming entrepreneurs and how to shape their mind to not think of how do I get a job, but how do I create a job? That's what I love about what our last caller was just saying. Her 6-year-old came to her and said, Mom, I want to help pay off debt. How can I get a job? Mommy said, let's create a job. She heard me talk about at our last First Steps to Success, our training seminar, just like the one that's coming up in August, the end of August in Los Angeles, California, actually Long Beach, California. But check it out. She heard me talk about a 9-year-old boy who started a dog picking up poop business. She presented the idea to her son. He named it Poop Patrol. Has made his investment, knocking on doors and making money at 6 years old. Grooming the next generation for success, my friend. That's what we got to do because our society is grooming them for mediocrity. They're grooming them for being bankrupt. They're grooming them to be either dead or dead broke at the age of 65. Our society is failing to teach our kids what they really need to know about business, about life, about relationship, and about money. And it's our job, your job with your kids, my job with my kids. And if they follow it, great. If they don't, you wash your hands, baby, because you know you did a good job if you made sure and you taught your kids the things that are inside of this book, Grooming the Next Generation for Success. We got line 2, Stacy from Pennsylvania. Stacy, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, Dani. How are you?
Great. What can I do for you?
My question to you is, I've got 2 children. One is 4 and one is 11. My 11-year-old just attended his first steps in San Antonio. So how do I, as a single mother, get my children to, you teach about vision, you teach about dreams, to do that at a young age?
That's so
interesting. Work it into a family plan.
Yes. You start with where they're at, with what they've already got. And you got to take action steps towards getting to where they want to go. So a 4-year-old, it's simple. In Grooming the Next Generation for Success, you have that home study course?
I do, and we do it.
Awesome. So in there, I talk about vision, right? And how to draw it out of your 4-year-old. Where are you at with that?
His attention is probably about 10 minutes of just watching that video.
No. I'm saying you draw. You draw it. I have a script inside of the book that tells you how to ask them questions and to say, what is in your heart to do? What do you want to be? Notice also his skill sets.
Right. He's just starting to get into that. And it's funny you said that because I've now kind of put it into him and planted the seed of, earning money, which is something I hadn't been doing, and giving a percentage of course, giving a percentage away, save a percentage. And so now he walks around to strangers and says, can you give me money so I can give to the poor?
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Stacy, that's rad. I love it. Gosh.
We went into a jeweler. I was doing some stuff and selling jewelry, and he gave the guy a penny. He said, I'll give you a penny for $1, and the guy gave one. Yeah.
You're doing a good job, Mommy. Okay, I'm telling you, you're doing a great job. Now listen to me. Stacy, number 1, don't use being a single mom as your handicap. Do you hear me? Don't use being a single mom as your handicap, because you actually use that label to try to create a picture that you have half as much help to form vision in your children. There are moms and dads in the home that do not plant vision in their children at all. And let me just go here, because you talked about your son wanting to raise money for the orphan. He's asking perfect strangers for money so he can give it to the orphan. I'm going to combine this orphan story with the single mom story. Are you ready for this? I know a single mom who has raised 650 children.
Yep.
And she has planted vision in all 650 children over the last 25 years. She is a single mom. She has raised 650 orphans. And if you ever come with me to that orphanage that we all just finished building, you can ask any one of those kids, the 4-year-old up to the 18-year-old, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they all have an answer. I want to be an architect. I want to be an engineer. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be an author. If I step on campus here in the United States or in Canada or in Europe or in Australia and I ask the same question of the same age group, guess what my answer is? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't hear. I have an 11-year-old who gives me that answer.
Yeah.
So we've been working.
Yeah. And so it's going to, listen, you allowed your son not to have vision for 11 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? So you ain't going to fix it overnight. But what I am telling you is being a single mom ain't an excuse for no vision. If a woman can raise 650 of other people's kids, honey, you can certainly raise 2 with vision. So keep at it and don't stop. This is Dani Johnson. Thanks so much for joining us today. We have completely enjoyed our time with you. Listen, grooming the next generation for success is so important. It is your job, my job with my kids, your job with your kids. I'd love to hear your thoughts about today's show. And also, if you feel like, man, this word needs to get out there, share it on Facebook. Okay, you can go to our site, you can get a link to the show, and you can share it for free to everybody, all of your friends on Facebook or Twitter or whatever social media platform you are from. Go ahead, share this message so that we can begin grooming the next generation for success together. This is Dani Johnson. We'll talk to you tomorrow with another intriguing topic. Bye.
We want to thank you for listening to The Dani Johnson Show. We hope you found inspiration, answers, and hope to renew your happiness in life and learned how to make the most of today and tomorrow. Join us again on the next Dani Johnson Show.
I remember being homeless and broke and broken in every way and being overloaded with financial pressure, the pressure that I was a failure, the social pressure, everything that I felt like was crashing down on top of me. And at the same time, I felt so alone until I learned the strategies of first steps to success. You have the chance, my friend, to annihilate all of your debt. Think about that. You have the chance to grow your income through your current career or even learning to start a brand new business that will be profitable. You also have the chance for learning how to motivate the people that are in your life that are driving you crazy and how to have significant breakthrough, not only spiritually, but physically, financially, and socially, and business-wise. And so I'm excited to see you at First Steps to Success. It's coming up January 17th through the 19th. Get yourself registered today, 888-757-8880. There's a seat with your name on it, friend. 888-757-8880.